Good evening, CBC family and friends. Tonight is designed to delight and excite. Code words: friendship, sharing, caring, and fun. You have tuned in to the Foodie channel, also known as Chantilly's Culinary Corner. Wow, looks like a lot is going on. Let's see what Chef Brian is cooking up.
Everybody, thank you for joining us for the Chantilly Baptist Church virtual family night. But it won't feel virtual because you're going to have so much fun. You're going to think you're right here, right now. So, tonight we are going to be cooking a one-bowl cake. This is a recipe I got from my mother, Dorothy Ellis, better known as Dot. And it was her all-purpose cake. She cooked it for funeral, she cooked it for birthday, she cooked it upon request, she cooked it for many functions, especially church function. And this cake is so easy, my father cooked it. And he had not made anything but a box cake up until that point. And he cooked it for New Hope Baptist Church. They loved it. He was so excited. It was like a kid learning how to ride a bike for the first day. So anyhow, what we're going to do here is introduce how we're going to get started. Hopefully, you followed the instructions that you were given and you have all your ingredients out. Your eggs and butter at room temperature. You got the right number of eggs. You have your baking soda, not powder, soda. You have your vanilla extract. You have your lemon. You have your butt pan. This is a butt pan. Or you're using a 10-inch tube pan that you use to make pound cakes with. Also, I am using Pam's baking nonstick spray. The difference than regular Pam is this has flour added to it. So when I do my pan, and I'll show you later, I don't have to add the flour. Now, it's important that you have the flour, but it's important not to have a whole bunch of flour because the whole bunch of flour should be going into your cake. All right? So far we're so good. And make sure you have all your tools. Spatula for scraping and getting the cake out of the pan. Your measuring spoons. Your measuring cups. And also something to grate your lemon with. This is a microplane. This is what I generally use. Now, back in the day, we had those box graters, okay? This is a smaller version of the box grater. And right down here at the bottom, this is where you would be grating and zesting your lemon. Also remember to put something underneath your lemon when you're grating it. Maybe a piece of wax paper, maybe a plate, but something that you can get it off very easily. You want fine lemon zest, because that will permeate throughout your batter and you'll really have that strong lemon flavor. Also, don't you throw out this lemon afterwards because we're going to use that when we're making our glaze. So, one other thing, I'm using yogurt. I'm going to measure it out. One time I took 2 of these and put it in the cake. Well, that cake went beyond the pan. It tasted good at the end, but it was too much. So, I'm using 2 different flavored yogurts. So, it doesn't make any difference as long as it'll taste good with something like a lemon glaze that we're going to do later on. Now, my wife, Diane, she likes sour cream because she says sour cream makes the consistency and texture of the cake more like a pound cake. So you can use either one. You can experiment with them, but you try it. It is so easy. Now, this is my mixer. Every mixer does not necessarily have a low, medium, high speed on it. But if it doesn't, it probably has numbers on it. So if you need to figure out how to do medium speed is the number that's behind the halfway between 1 and 10, 1 and 8, but approximately that area is where you want to go. And we're going to beat this cake for 3 minutes once we get started. So make sure you got all your stuff, and we're going to get started right now. Now, we got our oven preheated to 325 degrees. The cake is supposed to bake between 55 and 60 minutes. That will be dependent upon your oven. But we also have a way of testing to see if it's done, or you may need a little bit more time in doing it. So let's review. Number one, I forgot something very important. Make sure all of your work surfaces are clean, especially these, your hands. All right? Now, when you cook in your house, that may be different. But when you're cooking for guests, or you're cooking to bring something to church, you should be clean. Especially some of those people love their animals a lot, and they allow them to crawl all over and walk on the countertop. Nay, nay. You need to be thinking that you're feeding others and you don't want to transfer anything. Nothing worse than eating a piece of cake and finding you got what? A dog or cat hair in it. Yuck. I could tell you a story about that, but I'm not right now. So let's go over our ingredient list. We have 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Okay? Now, all-purpose flour is different than self-rising flour because it has leavening agents in it like baking soda or baking powder. So they're not the same. They're not interchangeable unless you know how much it contains pertaining to your recipe. And that way you either remove your other leavening agents that we have here, or you cut back the portion. So that's when you are a very good cook and you know how that's going to work. Also, some people, like my wife, she uses cake flour from time to time. Now, I'm not going to try to get into what the difference of cake flour, but as you can tell, it's made for making cakes. But for our intent purposes today, plain old flour is going to do. Now, I know some people out there saying, well, flour, do you have to sift it? I did not sift the flour. But what I did was I took the canister and I took a fork and I stirred the flour up because as it sits a while, it gets compacted. So then I went and I stirred it up, but I didn't dip my measuring cup in it. What I did was I got a spoon and I lightly put it in with the spoon till it got a little bit above the rim, and then I used the back part of my spoon to scrape off what I needed to, so I had a level cup. So I did that to make 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Then we have 2 cups of sugar. Now, I'm diabetic, so eating a lot of sugar, bad enough I got the carbs coming from white flour, I made a slight substitute. I use what we use here for a sugar substitute. It's called erythritol. Okay? It's made from plants. I added 1 cup of erythritol, which is slightly sweeter than sugar, 1/3 less sweet than sugar, and 1 cup of white sugar mixed in together. All right? Then I have my yogurt. I pre-measured my yogurt out. I have my leavening agent, which is baking soda and salt. Okay, you have that. And I pre-measured out 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I did not use imitation vanilla. I used vanilla extract. You choose, but good ingredients make a difference when you're cooking. All right? What I also have here is my 1 cup of butter at room temperature and 3 eggs the same. Now, I'll tell you, it's very important to review your ingredient list, because even though I've made this cake I don't know how many times, and I read the ingredients again last night, I took out 2 eggs instead of 3. So when I got up this morning, I read it again. I said, 3 eggs. So I took out another egg to get it at room temperature. Also, we want a zest of 1 lemon. Now, I did a little of the zesting. Didn't do it all. I want to show you. This is a microplane. It makes a very fine zest. All you got to do is, I have a bowl here. I just run the microplane over, back and forth. until I see real light skin of the lemon. Because one, you don't want to go further than that, because one, it's going to taste bad. It gets very bitter. All right. And this is not the end of this lemon's use in this recipe. We're going to use this lemon to make our glaze. Now see, yes, I put my fingers in here, but like I told you, wash your hands. That's what I did. I washed my hands and I have not touched my nose or my mouth. That's very important. Now, if for some reason you didn't make the glaze and you wanted to still use this lemon, you can do a couple things. One, put it in a sealed plastic bag. It will keep. Or you can even put it in the freezer and freeze the egg to use the lemon to use later. So we're going to save it for our glaze for later. So now we are going to start adding our ingredients. Now what I have done is I've taken the paddle off of my mixer here, because it's a lot easier to add each ingredient. Now, overall, it doesn't make a difference which ingredients you add first, but my preference is adding the flour first. The reason being, when I start this mixer up, the flour will be the first thing. If it's on top, it may poosh, come on up. And I'm going to be adding wet ingredients to this. So if the flour is already in there, and I've added the egg, I've added my vanilla, and my yogurt's already on top of it, then it's wet, a bit wet. When I start this up, also, that's important. I'm not going to start it up fast. I'm going to ease up until I get to 5 on this one. And that way I reduce the chances of splatter. So we've added our flour. I'm going to add the sugar now. Okay. Sorry about that. Then I'm going to add my 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks. Now, if you choose to use margarine, that's what you use. Some of you might still want to use Crisco with butter flavor. That's up to you. Now, it may have an effect on the taste of your cake. It may not. But you use what you're accustomed to using, because it is an equivalent substitute for butter. So it should not hurt the cake, just as it doesn't taste as good to lick your fingers after you use Crisco. All right. So again, here I am, scraping a little bit off of there. I'm going to throw in my vanilla flavoring, my leavening agents, my salt, and my baking soda. Remember, I said baking soda. Baking soda and baking powder are not the same, because if they were, you wouldn't have to make a distinction between what you're using. Now I'm going to add my lemon zest. Okay, I'm going to scrape it in there with my little spatula. That's why it's important to get your tools out, because once you don't have to go looking around for things, you know you have them. There. I'm going to add my eggs next. I'm not going to try and show off and crack them with one hand, because I'll probably drop the whole egg inside the bowl and you guys will be laughing at me. 3 eggs. Okay. Now, I just noticed something. As I added one of my eggs, I see a little bit of shell in there. So you have to excuse me a moment, because I'm going to get this shell out. There we go. I got it out. Now, you don't see it here, but over here in the Ellis household, it's not because we live in West Virginia, but we compost. So these eggshells, they're going in the compost bin, because they're going to grow those tomatoes and those collards and those asparagus and those green beans that so many of us love. So we are recycling. We are being self-sustaining as possible, but we wish they would give us a break on our trash, because we're reducing our footprint for the dump. So now I'm scooping out my yogurt to put in here. Our last ingredient. All right, we've done that. I'm gonna hold on to my spatula because I may have to scrape down the sides if I don't see it getting mixed the way I want it to. Now, I do have a blade that I got up in, I think, Lancaster. I can't remember, one of those kitchen gourmet stores. And I like this one because it gets the sides more than the regular one. So I'm going to attach my blade. It's attached. Now I'm going to drop my blade down in there. Now, you've seen a lot of KitchenAids, and I'm not doing a commercial for KitchenAid, but I've had this KitchenAid for over 20 years. So it's reliable, but as Diane commented, since we've grown older and for all our lab work, we bake cakes less and less now and other sweet things. So now I'm going to get it going. Now once I get this started, when I get up to 3, I am then going to set my timer on the oven to 3 minutes and let it do its thing and just keep an eye on it. So here we go. Let's see what happened. I went a little fast. I'm at 4. Okay, I want to get it to, that's 4. Now I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to put mine at 4. Set the timer. Now somebody would say, well, what makes a difference if you beat it for 5 minutes? Well, that affects the cake and the gluten that's in your flour. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story. My mother baked a ton of cakes. Here's the irony of this. My mother was allergic to wheat gluten. She would go ahead and have to wear a mask to bake cakes for other people. Because she found out later that she was a celiac, which is having it's an immune condition where your body attacks the gluten in there and can cause you some very serious illnesses. So I hope everything has been self-explanatory so far. Now, while this is beaten, we got 2 more minutes. We're going to prepare the bundt pan. And we have our bundt pan here. Now, what I'm using is Pam with flour in it. So I got the flour coating. It's important to have the flour in it. If you are not using that and you're using oil or some other fat in there, take your hand, coat it thoroughly, get a little bit of flour, maybe a tablespoon or 2, and then work it over the sink, so that you're covering it. And plus, you might want to drop a little bit on this inner part here, okay? Because when you get ready to get that cake out of there, you're going to try to avoid having it stick. We've got a minute and a half here left for this to be whipped up. I'm going to do this over the sink. I like to do mine in little bursts. I think of it like spray painting. Okay, I've got it, at least what I think is thoroughly covered. Okay, and because of being a pan, I'm probably going to have a little more in the bottom, and I'll probably see that when I take the cake back out. But that's unavoidable, or that should work. We got about half a minute left for this to finish mixing. I don't have to scrape it. I'm looking at it, and that spatula there for the beater is doing a great job right now. So I like to have it do its work. This is a very easy cake, as I said before, and you can play with it by adding different flavors to it, using different types of yogurt to it, making different types of glazes, or even making sauces to put on top of it. I even made this one time in a springform pan as you usually use for cheesecakes, and made a blueberry sauce for the topping and just spread it over the top. And I used blueberry yogurt in there. Guess what? It went over all right. So now our time is up there and our timer is off. We're going to get ready now to take our cake and put it into the pan. So that is next. Well, we've got our mixed in here 3 minutes. I took my spatula off And as you can see, you don't see the spatula anymore, but we that was our outtake. So during that time, I licked the batter, but I've washed my hands again. So this is our cake batter. It's smooth. It's somewhat dense, and we're gonna put it in our front pan. So I'm gonna drop a little bit, but as I drop it in here, I don't drop it in the same place. Okay, I'm gonna rotate the pan because I'm trying to make it as even as possible and as easy as possible, and to get a nice level cake. We're gonna do a couple other things too to make sure it gets level and knock a little air out of there, because sometimes air builds up and we're not making a cake that we want a bunch of pockets of air in it. All right. Now, and some people are going, well, why is he doing that sometimes? We all got a little differences in our technique. All right. Things that we've learned from mom, grandma, baby sister, Junior, because there's men and women cooks. I spent most of my time learning from my mother, because when I was a teenager, my mother, especially in my early teenage years, about 13 or 14, if I looked at a crooked, I was grounded. Sometimes amazed because I really hadn't done anything that I thought was terribly bad. It's definitely not mouthing off at that time, believe it or not. But I later learned from her that she was trying to keep me off the street. She wanted me to stay away from the little girls. So she made sure I stayed home. So you got to do something when you're home, especially when your homework's done. Can't watch TV all night long. And we didn't have video games. And we didn't have much in the TV stations. So anyhow, I got my batter in the pan here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this pan a couple times. And this will help even it out. And then I'm going to give it a couple little shakes. And I'm going to drop it in. Okay? So, it's done. We're getting ready to put it in the oven. Now, I'll tell you this. A good thing for this cake is set your rack with the middle rack on there. That's the rack you want to put your cake on. Set that rack in the middle. Now, we're going to put it in. We're going to set the oven for 55 minutes. And while this is cooking, we're going to go away for a minute, and then we'll be back, and we're going to show you how to make the glaze. All right? So I'm going to put this in. Then I'm going to set the timer for 55 minutes. Middle rack. There it is. Timer. Is set. All right, and that's how we've done so far in getting our cake baked. This one bowl cake, very simple cake, as I said before, and I hope what we've shown you so far exemplifies how simple it is. If you're a first-time baker, or even you're someone who's been baking for years or decades even, this is cake you can be very creative, and I think you will enjoy it. Okay, our timer's just gone off. Been in there for 55 minutes. I'm going to take it out, and we're going to test it with the cake tester. What we're looking for is that when we stick it in there all the way in and pull it out, it comes out clean. All right? If it's still sticking, then we're going to put it in there for maybe another 5. Looking good so far. But we gotta make sure it's where we want it to be. So I'm sticking it in all the way to the bottom, up. It's clean. So we're gonna consider that it is done. Turn off the oven. Now you always gotta remember too, most of the foods you cook for a sustained period of time, like in the oven, that they will cook for at least another 5 minutes. All right, so we got this over here. We got it on our cooling rack and on the cutting board. We're gonna let it cool. Now, how long is it gonna take to cool? I don't know, but I'm not gonna try to move it until it cools, because if not, I'll have something really stuck, and I might have half of a cake in the pan and half of the cake out. So we don't want that. That is always the moment of truth. It's getting them out, especially when you got fancy pans like a bundt pan. All right? So, as I told you previously, what we're going to do now is we're going to make our glaze. Now, we can make it in advance now because we don't have to do anything with it. Nothing's going to happen to it. But if it does seem to start to separate a little bit, all we got to do is take our whisk that we're going to use and whisk it up again, and it will be good as gold. So, our ingredients for the glaze. Now, you can change these later on if you want to. This one has lemon in it. Lemon and oil. And let me double check. Oh, I forgot an ingredient. Oh no! What did I say? Don't forget all your ingredients. So I need some milk. So excuse me, I'm getting the milk right now. Woo! That was a close call, huh? Anyhow, I'm going to use half and half. It doesn't make any difference. So you use milk half and half. I think skim milk would work. Skim milk would work also. So our first ingredient that we're going to put in here is 10x sugar, also known as confectioner's sugar. Now, don't get confused and go out and buy super fine sugar because it's not powdered like confectionery sugar is. So I'm going to add a cup in here. Try not to be too messy because you don't know. Something special happened a little while ago that you didn't see, that we didn't film, was I washed the dishes that I used, and Diane fainted. So it took a little while to bring her back around because she's not accustomed to seeing that. So she's licking her tongue out at me. So I got a cup here that is even enough. I'm going to put it in my pan here. Next, I need 2 tablespoons each of oil, milk, and lemon juice. Okay, so I got my oil here first. Got my measuring spoon. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons. 1. And 2. I like to remember to put my lid back on things because sometimes I knock them. Next thing you know, you got to clean up. See? You got to clean up coming your way. So then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of half and half instead of milk. And I'm only using half and half because it was in front of the refrigerator when I opened it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator, so excuse me for a moment. Now, I'm going to get me 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So this is the lemon I had earlier that I zested. I'm going to cut it in half. Now, I don't know if some of you know what this is. You've seen it. This is a juicer. Okay? Or as I just got prompted, it's an old school juicer. We have several here. Some have big bowls underneath them to catch it. These are good because they also catch the seeds. And you don't want seeds in a recipe. Not in this one, at least. So I just saw 1 seed pop in there. So I'm going to get the seeds out because one of them jumped over. Come here. Get back here. Now, if you have real lemon at home and you don't have any lemons, go ahead. Use it. All right? I don't know how many times I've seen some recipes and I needed to have a substitute because even though it may taste a bit different, sometimes better, sometimes not. There's 1. And there's 2. I got a little bit. That ain't enough to worry about. So anyhow, that's in there. You have all those ingredients in there together. Then take a whisk and mix them up very well. Okay? You don't want to see any clumps of confectionery sugar in here. You want everything to be mixed in there real nice. And after I finish whisking this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set it aside because I don't want to add until the cake cools. The reason being is when the cake is cooled, it puts more of a glaze on the outside of the cake. It's going to absorb a little bit. Some cakes are made and you pour the glaze on while they're hot. And sometimes they tell you to poke holes in it because they want that to get down and through the cake, moisten it, and also add some additional level of flavor to it. So, I almost got this done. I'm going to beat it up a little bit more. But you'll know it's pretty much done when you don't see a bunch of specks of 10x sugar in here. Okay? Now, if you see a couple, don't worry about it. Just go ahead, move on. It's not going to ruin the cake or the look of the cake. All right? So, I've mixed that very thoroughly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it aside. So now, we're going to have to wait until our cake has thoroughly cooled. And then we'll be able to take it and we're going to flip it onto a cardboard cake plate, basically. And once we've done that, let's pray that it successfully comes out of the pan. That's the key there. If not, we may have to do cake surgery today, and I would prefer not to. So next step will be taking the cake out of the pan, and if it's cooled off all the way, we will then be able to add our glaze. So we will come back with that next. Okay, we have our cake here. We've allowed it to cool down. I think it's been about close to a half hour, 20, 30 minutes, 20. And now we're going to the moment of truth. And that is getting it from bump pan to cake platform here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this platform, we're going to put it on what is now the top, which will soon become the bottom. We're going to put our hand underneath here, and we're going to do a quick turn. Ooh, and I heard a good sound. You couldn't hear it. I heard it, and it told me that the cake dropped out. Live TV. Can't do this on any other time. So here is our bundt cake. Nice and brown on the outside. Not overcooked. Put it right there on the center. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to let it finish cooling because right now it's still a little warm. Maybe it'll take us another 10-15 minutes. We're not going to make you wait another 10-15 minutes, but we'll come back and we will then take our glaze we made earlier and drizzle it on top. And we might eat a little bit in front of you. Ooh. Okay, our cake has finally cooled off all the way. It's looking good so far on the outside. Now what I'm going to do is I have the glaze that we made earlier. I'm going to just whip it up a little bit more to make sure everything's nice and mixed in well together. Okay, now there's different ways to apply the glaze. Some people prefer to drizzle it like off of a spoon or something, or just pour it on there. But we're going to do a little bit of both. I have a silicone brush here. I'm going to try that first because why? I've never used this one for that. I use it for barbecue sauce. So just dip it in there and paint, basically. I like to start from the inside because that's where it's all going to fall. That drips down anyhow. So far, so good. Gently. Don't do it quite like you're painting a wall or something. Be very liberal. Don't try to be stingy with it. So I'm going to paint it all around. You can see it's a clear type of glaze. Goes on clear. Oh, I'm sorry. I was blocking your view, huh? Well, okay. So there it is, and you can see, if you can see the inside, it's being absorbed. So I'm gonna flip it around a little bit so that make it a little easier for me to put it on here. As you can see, I'm just using up and down strokes. I'm just trying to cover it every little bit. And when it seeps in there a little bit, putting that coating on it. I know when you're doing this, you're tempted to stick your finger in the bowl, but don't do it. At least not when anybody's looking. Now, Diane told me she has leftover. I don't usually have leftover because, I pour it all on there, get rid of it. Not like the back in the day when I could just eat it without any damage being done to me. Get older, you have to be more careful, more health conscious. I shouldn't say just older, we should get more health conscious when we're younger, as he puts on the sugar-based glaze. So, I want to make sure I got it everywhere. That looks like frozen rain on all over this cake. I don't want a spot left. If I see a dry spot, I'm going back. And as you can see, I take it from the bottom, some on this cardboard, and I just smooth it back on up there because I don't want any spot missed. Not that you'll taste the difference, but it looks so much better. I'm going to turn it again. I see some spots that are wanting from it. Some glaze. Don't want them to feel neglected. Want that sweetness through and through. There we go. We'll put a little bit more there in the middle. I want to do a full 360. Oh, I see some spots. Can't have that. Gotta have every slice with that glaze in there. Give it that extra lemony flavor because we already put that lemon zest in there when we cooked it. We cooked that in there, and that gave it a lot of flavor. So I think that about does it for the brushing. Now I'm going to do what I probably shouldn't do. I'm going to do it anyhow. I'm going to spoon some over the top, right about the middle of it. See, that'll drizzle over the edge. Feel those other little spaces up in there. Oh, it's going to look good, and hopefully it will taste good also. So this is and you can make it without the glaze. You don't have to make it with the glaze. That's not a requirement. But it doesn't hurt to have the glaze. If you don't eat a lot of cake, it doesn't hurt. All right? So, we've glazed our cake. I'm going to be careful because I don't want to drop this on the floor because I will cry. This is our cake. It's been thoroughly glazed. Set it up there. We've pretty much got this wrapped up here. But do this for me. Send me a picture of your cake. Email me. Let me know if you have any other questions. You can email me at SILLEB as in boy, T as in Tom, at Comcast.net, and tell me how your cake turned out and send me some pictures. That'd be interesting. And if you have any questions, something went wrong. Now, something go wrong, do not quit baking. You have to figure out what went wrong, because I can tell you there's been many times I've made something and it did not either taste or look or come out exactly as I expected. And if you could talk to the chefs on TV, they would tell you the same, because you notice they always pull one out of the oven that's already been cooked. We didn't do that today. We took the one that we were baking, put it in the oven, took it out of it. We had no extra. Butter ain't cheap. So I hope you enjoyed this experience. I hope you will cook this cake and share it with your friends. It's very easy, and if this is your first time foraying into the world of baking, I hope it will be an encouragement to you. And thank you for joining us at the Chantilly Baptist Church Family Fun Night, and this part of the dessert of the whole meal that you're going to hopefully participate and learn to cook, that this will be very good. It goes well with vanilla ice cream. And I'm going to add something that's dear to me, little squeeze of some real whipped cream, not ready whip, not Cool Whip, real whipped cream. All right? So until then, have a great day, have a blessed day, and who knows, we might be doing this again. Bye-bye.
Well, when I was a little girl, I always asked Mother, why is dessert after dinner? Looks like tonight I won't have to wait. Thanks, Chef Brian. Let us eat cake. Let me ask you this. Is too many cooks in the kitchen? Not in this house. Chefs Carla and Carla look like they're going to air fry something to delight and excite our taste buds. Get ready, get ready, get ready. We're about to mix technology and taste.
We're going to start with the Mississippi pot roast with carrots and potatoes. As you can see, we have a 2.5 pound of chuck roast, carrots, pepperoncini peppers, minced garlic, butter, small potatoes, beef broth, and ranch style dips, as well as a juice gravy. Now, if you don't have any of these two particular ingredients, you can always just use a regular pack of ranch, as well as you can use onion soup mix as well. As you can see, it's got a little bit of color, and that's what we want. Now we're going to proceed to do this on every side. Our onions have gotten nice and soft, and we've also incorporated a little bit of minced garlic. We're going to add our meat back into it. We're going to add some beef broth, shake it up. We like a lot of gravy, so we're probably going to add a good 3/4 of this. Okay? Or half. Then we're going to add the juice from the pepperoncini peppers. We're going to add that in as well. Now this is the easy part, but this is the most important part. Then we're going to add our flavor packets. As I indicated earlier, we're talking about the ranch dip mix. We're just going to add that right on top. We're going to use 2 packs here. On top. Then we're going to add the juice on top. We're going to proceed and add an additional packet of the juice gravy, because as I indicated earlier, we like gravy. And then our final ingredient, and no, I'm not Paula Deen, but Butter goes with everything, and this recipe does call for an entire stick of butter, but we're gonna make it a little less than that. We're gonna go with a little bit, maybe about 3/4 of a stick. It's up to you. Then in addition to that, we're gonna add our pepperoncini peppers on top. And this is not a spicy pepper. It just gives it a lot of flavor. You'll enjoy it. Yeah, we have different mixtures of different tastes that more than likely you've never put together before, but I think you're going to be majorly impressed with all of these ingredients. When that pot roast comes out, it's going to melt in your mouth, and you're going to be majorly surprised. This is what it looks like, and so as you can see, we've added everything right on top of the roast beef. We've added additional beef broth so they can cook through. And now we're going to close the lid. We have our pressure cooker top on. We're going to turn it and lock it. Then we're going to make sure that it's on seal, as you can see. Now we put the lid down. And our next thing is put it on pressure cooker. So the nice thing about the Foodie pressure cooker is that it's all in one. It's the Instant Pot, the air fryer, all in one. So it has an additional top that allows you to be able to cook on pressure cooker as well as air fryer. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put this on pressure cooker as we've already done. We're going to put it on high. And then we're going to start it. Now we're going to put this on approximately, we're going to put it on 60 minutes, 65, 70 minutes. Because we have a bigger piece of meat in here, we're going to put it on 1 hour and 10 minutes. There you have it. And we start the process. And now we're just going to sit and let it do its thing. And then once that's done, we're going to add our potatoes and our carrots. Come back and see us in an hour. So now, the moment of truth. Look at that. Pull it out. Oh, it's falling apart. I'm going to have to get something else. Let's get all of the meat out. And then what we're going to proceed to do, now that our gravy is coming to a boil, or our juice, right now it's a juice. I have a mixture of flour, maybe 2 tablespoons, 2.5, with some water. Now we're just going to, and I typically use my canisters from my beater. We're going to pour this in slowly. And the flour and water mixture is going to make it thicken up. So we're going to return it to a boil a little bit. A simmer, not a boil, but a simmer. And we're going to thicken up this gravy so it's a rich gravy. Has a lot of body to it. Remember, we shouldn't need to add any other seasonings because the seasonings were in the packet that we put on top of the meat. Once this thickens, then we will add our potatoes and our carrots. And at that point, the only thing that's necessary is to cut it back on the feature of pressure cooker. And we're talking about a total of 6-7 minutes max in order for the carrots and the potatoes to be tender. I might even add a little bit more as that thickens up. And as you can see, it's boiling. It's looking good. I'm going to add a little teeny bit more broth just to make sure we have enough gravy. It's always good to have a little bit more gravy. And as I indicated, if you don't have broth on hand, you can always use Knorr's packets, seasoning packets, as well as Better Than Bouillon. That's really good to get you started in regards to having any type of gravy. Or just a regular bouillon cube. Whatever works for you. This is really simple, so nothing is wrong. Let that thicken up a little bit. And then we're going to dump in our vegetables once it thickens a little bit more. Looks rich, nice and brown. Has a great color. I'm going to take my potatoes and then I'm going to throw the potatoes in. And what I've done is I've utilized red potatoes, good sized red potatoes. I cut them in quarters because they were fairly big. But you can use red potatoes, any type of potato for the most part that holds up to heat for an amount of time. And then also you can use the baby potatoes, which we presented in the very beginning. You can use those if you're not interested in peeling potatoes, but anything will work. If you want potatoes or you may not want potatoes and you want to put the gravy over rice, that's perfectly fine. And then we're going to throw in our carrots as well. I'm going to put the potatoes in, dump them in. As you can see, they're pretty good size, but all of them pretty much are the same size. Uniformity with the size potato is important. Just dump it in. Okay. Then we're going to go with our carrots. Once again, we're going to put the lid back on. And we'll be back. And now for the final moment. Take the lid off. Oh, our vegetables look really good. They look real good. And they're done. Gravy could stand to be a little bit thicker for me, but what I'm going to do is take out my vegetables, which happens to consist of potatoes and carrots and onions, and put them around the beef. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, this reminds me of Sunday dinner at my grandmother's house. Mama G, affectionately known as Mama G. And it seems as though every Sunday she would have some form of beef. And it was always done to perfection, as well as it was always done on time. I never inherited that particular characteristic of having everything done on time, other than now the Instapot or the Foodie, Ninja Foodie does give me a little bit more leverage when it comes to that, making everything done at the same time. It never failed. Even if she had people that unexpected guests to come by, she still would always have enough food. I haven't mastered that at all. So, once again, here's the final product. I'm just gonna thicken up my gravy just a little bit more. I like it a little bit thicker, but even the gravy at this point looks great. And I might just keep it as is and just pour some over the top. As you can see, this is the Mississippi pot roast, Instapot style. And if you want further instructions, please do contact me in the chat, and we certainly can give you more instruction in regards to this. Next, we'll have our next segment, which happens to be air fried chicken. Looking forward. Be right back. We're back. Now we're going to do chicken wings, air fried chicken wings. And we're going to do 3 different flavors: lemon pepper, honey Cajun, and Parmesan. Sit back and relax and get yourself ready for the football game. We want to season our chicken wings with a little sazon, Goya sazon. Now it's going to turn your chicken a little bit orange. Don't be alarmed. That's the way it's supposed to look. We want to make sure that we get it all in and coat every piece as best we can. I prefer to wear gloves. I don't like touching chicken with my bare hands. Okay, get the seasonings all over. All right. Now we're going to add just a little bit of Cajun seasoning, Tony's Creole seasoning, to our flour mix. Just a little, because we're also going to put a glaze on 2 of the types of chicken wings that we're going to do. We're going to mix that up, stir it up, like so, like that. Then we're going to go ahead and plop the chicken wings in there, and we just want a dusting, no more than a dusting. We're going to turn on our air fryer so it's good and hot. We're going to put it to air fry. Smarter than I am. And we're going to put it at 20 minutes at 400 degrees. Once we've gotten our chicken wings coated in flour with a light dusting, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Now that we've gone ahead and put our chicken wings on the rack, which is on a cookie sheet, we put it on the rack so that the flour won't come off, adhere to a paper towel or whatnot. We've also sprayed some avocado spray, oil on our inside of our air fryer. Avocado oil has a higher burn rate, so therefore it won't burn up, whereas possibly the olive oil will. We're going to place our chicken wings inside. We want to make sure that we place it so that they're a little bit apart from one another. We just want to put one layer so that the air can circulate around the chicken wing, like so, like that. Then we're going to close the top, put the degrees on 400, and we're going to cook for about 20 minutes, and at that 20-minute mark, we're going to go ahead and at 10 minutes, we're going to go ahead and open it back up and turn them over with the tongs and we should be ready to go for them to be nice and crispy in 20-21 minutes. I will be back. Now here's the end product of our lemon chicken. We've coated it with our mixture of lemon juice, zest from the lemon, as well as lemon pepper of your choosing, and butter. This is the final product. Next, we're stepping in the direction of our next batch of chicken, which is honey Cajun flavor, and we're whisking up some butter. We cut the flour mixture with this, also with this Uncle Buck's chicken fry hot and spicy flour mix as well, and we incorporate it into our regular flour. To our glaze, we're adding honey, of course, with the butter. Come back now. We'll see you when the final product comes out. And now we have our final product: lemon chicken, regular fried chicken, and honey Cajun chicken. As you can see, nice and tender and crispy on the outside. What do you think, folks? Air fryer works, doesn't it? Less oil and the whole 9 yards. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, family and friends, thanks so much for coming. Was it fun here at the CBC Foodie channel? Did you learn something new? How about our chefs, Brian, Carla, and Kayla? Who are your next dinner guests? Make sure they include the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They make any recipe exciting and amazing. Goodbye for now.